Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again. A simple man diagnosed with NPD, trying to tell you about what goes on in my head. But keep in mind I am no clinician, so I can only speak to my own experiences and the studies I read. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that crap. It's really hard to get you guys to do that. I don't know why. Do you guys hate me? No, I'm joking. Anyways, so obviously a lot of people have questioned whether or not they are narcissists, right? Or if they have NPD. And it's kind of hard to determine that, right? Especially with all the misinformation out there. And obviously that kind of litmus test that people say is like, if you're questioning you're a narcissist, then you aren't one. That's dumb. We all know that's dumb if you watch this channel. Hell, like, how the hell else are you going to become self-aware like me and some of the other people out there? So I found I mentioned this one before, but I found this diagnostic criteria list that's taken all from the DSM, but it was worded in a way that resonated with other people with NPD, because basically a bunch of people with NPD were like, oh, this is how we relate to these symptoms, blah, 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 blah. So I decided that I'm going to read off these symptoms and the criteria and all that stuff. And if you do suspect you're a narcissist, if you relate to some of these things, maybe it's worth going to the therapy over. I always say, like, if you feel like you can't connect to anybody and that nothing you do is ever good enough, go to therapy, but this will be a little bit more in depth. So section 1, it must check 2 or more of the following. I have identity issues and I depend on others in order to define myself. My self-esteem depends on others as well. How others view me influences how I view myself, which is why I try to present myself as important or powerful. I talked about this before. This is why our self-esteem juice is so important, right? We need that outside validation to feel good about ourselves. And also, and this part's missed a lot, we rely on other people to define who we are. I'm constantly going to people and it's like, what do you think I'm like? And shit like that, so that I can have a sense of identity, right? I have difficulty setting goals for myself, and how I set them really depends on the praise I receive from others. I then set goals unrealistically high in order to see myself as exceptional, or contrarily, too low so I can feel more powerful when the task is easy. I do this all the time, because not only have I never really chosen a task, hobby, or career based off of like, oh, this is what I want. I'm like, how respectable is this? How are other people going to feel knowing that I do this? It has to be a prestigious position. And also the setting the goals too high. That happens almost unconsciously for me. It's like, oh, I'm grandiose as shit in the moment. I'm like, I'm going to do all these things. It's going to be great. But too low, I often do. It's like, oh man, I don't know about this. I probably won't be able to do this. I guess I'm just going to commit to this. And then when I fucking blow it out of the water, people are like, whoa, you're so great. I'm like, yes, I am. I struggle to identify with the feelings and needs of others, and I tend to underestimate the effect I have on others. Yes. So 2 parts of this. 1, identify the feelings and needs of others. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, what you think is kind of stupid, or I'm not even considering it in a moment, especially if my needs are more in the front of my mind. I don't even think about, like, I try to nowadays. I make an active effort to basically be like, hey, like, how are you doing and stuff like that, especially if I notice something's off. And underestimate the effect I have on others. A great example of this is when I am having an emotional meltdown and I'm expecting people to be there for me, but then become so overwhelming for them because I forget that emotional empathy exists. I'm like, why won't you support me? It's not like I'm raging out just at nothing. And like, well, because when it's not directed at them, it really confuses me. I have unstable relationships. I can become so focused on my own anxieties and problems, I forget the needs of my partner. I often do that. Not as often anymore. I try very hard not to do that, but it happens. So section 2, must check 2 or more of the following. I have cognition problems and difficulty perceiving myself, other people, and events. This one I'm not so sure what they meant, if I'm being honest. So maybe I don't fit this criteria. But I assume what they mean is like accurately. Like I get really paranoid if somebody doesn't text me back when normally they text me back in a certain period of time. Or I misconstrue people's motivations, whatever. I have affectivity problems and difficulty controlling the range and intensity of my emotional responses. We're emotionally dysregulated as fuck. Just like borderlines, we're all like, we have just the same amount of hypersensitivity and reactiveness. I get angry so often, I hate it. I have problems with interpersonal functioning and being aware of my own actions and feelings. I have no idea why I do anything. Like frequently I'm asking myself, the mantra of my life, why the fuck did I do that? And my feelings, I am even less attached to. Afflixothymia, I can't pronounce it correctly. A lot of people with NPD have this, and we're unable to recognize what we're feeling a lot of the times. When I was growing up, I had 3 emotions I could identify: good, bad, and mad, which very limited how I could react to my emotions. I have difficulty controlling my impulses. Yeah, we're very, impulsive, to say the least. We can be very, I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. I don't know. I just act on my impulses. What can I say? Must check both of the Must check both of the following. I can be self-centered, and I feel entitled to good treatment from others as I am dependent on it. Yes, I feel like, and this ties into sacrificing self-enhancement. I go out of my way to do nice things for others to feel good about myself, and then when that's not returned, I feel entitled to it, and I get angry because I feel like they should be doing that for me. They can see I need help, so why aren't they giving me help, despite that it could be against their own interests? I like to be the center of attention, and I seek admiration from others. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Of course, if you're more vulnerable presenting, again, if you watch this channel, you know we fluctuate between the two, but if you're more vulnerable presenting, you may be so ruled by your anxieties that you can't go and seek it out, or maybe you don't even like being the center of attention because you're too afraid of how that might come off. You're too afraid of getting rejected, etc. So I'm trying to find section 4. Here it is. Must check 5 or more of the following. I tend to exaggerate my achievements and talents and like to be praised for them. I almost do this unconsciously. It's like a pathological lying thing. Sometimes I'll say that I've met people who I didn't really meet, but I was like at an event with or something like that. Or like if I have like 2 connections, I'll be like a connection to somebody, and then from them there's another connection. I'll be like, yeah, I met them, and that's just fucking a lie. I am often preoccupied with fantasies of my own success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love life. I mean, so I want to point out that when this becomes like straight dysfunctional, I'm not saying you don't have NPD if it's not this dysfunctional, but sometimes I'll be doing like a hobby or something, and I will neglect the hobby because I'm getting so caught up in how great it will be when I'm renowned for it, more or less. In a way, I believe I'm special and unique, and I like to surround myself with other people who are special and unique. Again, pretty self-explanatory. I've always kind of felt like this, and maybe it was kind of accurate because NPD. Funnily enough, in a study looking over which symptoms were most likely to go into remission over a 2-year period, that was the only symptom that actually increased because I imagine what happened is they were like, well, I have NPD, so I guess I am special. I mean, then that's how I felt when I first heard about my diagnosis. I was like, oh, so I am really different than others. I am really better than everybody. I require excessive admiration. Need that self-esteem juice. Not much else to say there. I set unreasonable expectations for both myself and the people around me. And then when we fail them, we feel terrible. Or when the other people fail them, we feel disgusted almost. I tend to take advantage of others. I tend to take advantage of situations and am opportunistic. Again, kind of self-explanatory. That's one of the more shitty sides of NPD that I can't really fight too hard, unfortunately. Interpersonal exploitation. It's a thing. It really is. I struggle with empathy and have a difficult time relating to others. Yeah, I have always felt just disconnected from other people, felt like I couldn't relate to them. That's the part that kind of sucks. It feels like there's a fucking wall there. I am often envious and I covet what other people have. For me, this always presented as like people just being able to like relax in social situations, or like I see like a couple happy and walk down the road. I'm like, fuck, I want that. What the fuck's wrong with you guys? How dare you guys have that? I have an arrogant or haughty attitude. I mean, or condescending. I want to point that out too. Like around people, like it can be kind of obvious how I'm like, I'm kind of better than you. What the fuck? Or at least I'm thinking it too. I feel like a lot of people kind of hide that attitude because they kind of figure out, oh, that's kind of, people don't like that. And you can't really get your self-esteem juice if they don't like you saying that, right? So, and then section 5. And none of these in section 5 are, or section 6? No, section 5. Okay, must check all the following. My symptoms impair my personality and social functioning. Yes. My symptoms are consistent across a broad range of personal and social situations. So with bipolar, you can have a lot of grandiosity and shit like that. And so that can be a very big differential diagnosis. If you're a narcissist, you will basically be like this all the time. You'll always have these kind of cognitions going on. Or like, let's say you like lose your job or something, you might become a little bit more narcissistic to like compensate for that. But it has to be despite where your life is at in the moment. My My symptoms have lasted a while and started in early adulthood or earlier. Yes, my symptoms probably started. I I first remember my symptoms starting when I was like young. Like I was probably just out of elementary school, maybe earlier than that even. I just don't remember them too well before then. Because I don't remember much of my childhood, if I'm being honest. My symptoms are not caused by medication, drug use, or another medical condition. Yeah. Okay, Section 6, this is just common symptoms. You don't really have to have this. And I do want to add something to this, is that imposter syndrome is a huge part of NPD, and I'm not sure if it's mentioned in this. But I can either have low or high self-esteem. I find it depends on the people I'm with and how they're treating me at the time. Yep, that self-esteem fluctuation, grandiosity versus vulnerability. I tend to overestimate myself, which can often lead to disappointing myself. If I'm doing a hobby and I fail, in quotes, at whatever my expectations were, I might just quit the hobby because the shame of not being perfect at it was too much. Once I was learning, I've gotten back into it a little bit now, but I was learning some hardware engineering stuff, and I tried to set up a little circuit thing, and I failed at doing it. I didn't even want to look at it. I literally hid it from myself because I was like so ashamed. Shame's a big part of it too. I can become anxious and spiral into a depression if I don't receive praise or admiration. That's me 100%. Fuck, I hate it. I hate being alone for too long. I hate it. Like, I'm already lonely all the time as it is. That should also be a thing. Chronic loneliness. I find I compare myself with others often, having no other means of defining myself unless I can use someone else as a sort of measuring tape. This is something that, like, it was a hard time for me to wrap my mind around because it's hierarchical thinking. We're always being like, okay, this is better than this is worse than this. What is the best? What is the worst? That's just how we think about things. I often feel incredibly misunderstood by others. Yes, and I'm not sure that's irrational yet. We'll see. I feel like I have the best of everything, the newest electronic, the most expensive brand, something, etc. Yeah, that's the only one on this whole list I don't relate to at all. But then again, I pride myself like on my like humility and like my kind of stoic. I don't need material possessions sort of thing. But then again, I fucking drink a lot, and use a lot of nicotine. So when talking myself, I tend to ramble. I mean, yeah, we just talk about ourselves a lot. I think a lot of people are jealous of me. Chronic envy. And jealous isn't the right word, it's envy. But I consistently, whenever someone wrongs me, I kind of assume that they're envious of me. Or I hope that they're envious of me, I guess. I love people being envious of me. When I have a girl or something, and I see other guys like gawking at her, but like obviously she's going home with me, I'm like, fuck yeah, love that. Love it. I'm incredibly sensitive to criticism. I don't usually show it outwardly, but being criticized can leave me feeling humiliated, degraded, and empty. I think this should be a necessary feature because this always happens to me. I hate it. I go into a shame spiral. I hide myself in my room. Ugh. When upset, I tend to withdraw from others. As I said, I hide in my room when I'm in a shame spiral. I find being competitive is very difficult for me because there's a chance of losing. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm often depressed and or anxious. Same. Oh. I try to read people's weaknesses while hiding my own. Like, I always thought I was like super good at reading people. I think that might be a little bit more pathological than I thought at this point, but I still think I'm pretty good at it. Who knows? But yeah, I think that if you are wondering if you have NPD, I think that's a great standard to go off of. All those things are such a good... That's actually how one of my buddies became aware that he had NPD, is that like I showed him that list, but without showing him the title of it, and he was like, I relate to so much on this. What the fuck? Like, what is this? And I was like, buddy, well... But he like accepted it because he related to it so much. And then especially after we started talking about it, how it related to the world. But yeah, I think that's one of the best ways to do it. And maybe even show somebody, if you feel like somebody in your life has MPD and they like trust you, maybe showing that list might help if you exclude the title of it first and like clarify, like, before I show you what the title of this disorder is, there's a lot of stigma, misinformation. Show them my videos. Who knows? But yeah, hope you all have a good day. Like, comment, and subscribe, please. And take your fucking meds.